Hello and welcome back to another episode for MC Airsoft. I'm Mark, and today we're going to be discussing how to choose a loadout, right? Because there's a lot of videos, there's a lot of information on I picked this loadout for this event, or this is my current loadout. But especially when you're getting into Airsoft and you're buying your first loadout, and especially for those who maybe don't have any background with tactical gear or competition shooting gear or something like that, it can be a little overwhelming. And especially if you're first getting into Airsoft, maybe you don't know what direction you want to go into or what have you, or maybe you've got a loadout and you're trying to figure out your next loadout, something of that nature. It can be a little overwhelming, right? So today what we're going to be discussing is 5 kind of criteria, kind of steps that you can use to make a pros and cons chart or make a list or whatever, however you want to use that information in order to build out your kit. Because, just based on body size, maybe what I'm wearing, what I'm using won't work for the next person over. Just based on my field, our limits, things like that, the play style I'm going for, the aesthetic I'm going for, all things we're going to be discussing today, but they might make it so what I'm doing isn't right for the next person over. So the first thing to discuss is needs, right? And this is kind of, the reason this is the first thing is because it's kind of the first step in deciding what you're going to be doing. Because I can stand up here and preach about rifles and chest rigs that hold M4 mags all day, but if you're running pistol-only games, which I don't know of any fields that are exclusively pistol-only, but maybe that's the case, or maybe you want to do your SMG roll and I'm preaching about M4s, or maybe even light machine guns or something of that nature. That might change. I play mostly outdoors, so maybe you play indoors, right? So the first thing is going to be field, right? Breaks down into 3 sections. That's size, type, and limits. Limits, 3. So the first one, size of field, right? Because if you're playing at a paintball field, you might not need to shoot 250 feet, right? Because a lot of the engagements are happening at 100, 150, really kind of more in the realm of pistols and SMGs being better, high rate of fire over accuracy and range, right? Obviously accuracy is good, range is good, but the problem is that if you sacrifice accuracy and range, there's a diminishing returns, right? If I make a pinpoint accurate to 200 foot specific DMR build, one, DMRs might not be allowed because we're shooting closer quarters, but 2, it's diminishing returns, because if I can hold a grouping, let's say head sized, at the furthest distance I can shoot on that field, which maybe it's 150 feet if you're playing a paintball field, well, that's an issue, right? Or anything more than that is just extra. I might want to lean more heavy into rate of fire, into reliability, into other factors, right? And that kind of influences the loadout as well. If I'm playing outdoors, maybe I want to go a bit lighter. I tend to wear, a plate carrier in CQB where I'm not going to wear one out in the woods, right? So for me, that's kind of a safety issue, also a comfort issue. But If I'm playing outdoors, I might build for longer range. I'm going to be doing more walking, more running, or at least longer distance running, things like that. Whereas if I'm playing in a paintball field, or I say paintball field, but any kind of close quarters, it might be an airsoft only field, CQB field, something of that nature. I'm going to build specifically for that. I'm going to want to favor quicker reloads, whereas outdoors I'm going to want to favor retention. So the size of the field might determine the weight that you carry, the kind of kit that you're using to support your primary weapon, how the pistol you're choosing, things like that. Because there's going to be different things you can build for depending on what you want to do, and the size of the field kind of dictates that. Next is going to be the type of field, right? So if I'm playing in a very densely wooded area, or like a swamp kind of idea where there's a lot of cover, a lot of vines, a lot of things like that, I'm probably not going to build for a long range game, whereas I might build for that if I'm out where I live in Arizona, where we got a lot of open spaces. I might build for longer range out here, and not only that, more walking than running, right? Where I'm going to be walking long term, I have to worry about weight. Maybe I have to worry about water if it's a longer game, especially. You have to worry about the heat. You have to worry about things like that. And hydration is key. So I'm going to have to incorporate water into it. So you take into consideration the type of field that you're on. Whereas if I'm playing CQB 15-minute games only, nothing knocking that, whatever floats your goat, but I'm not going to need to carry water. I can leave that in my bag. I can maybe not even bring it if maybe the store that's attached to the field or whatever the case is has water, right? Maybe I just buy it there. It's something I don't really have to worry about. And it's a way I can streamline the kit, because CQB is generally faster paced than outdoor play. Not saying one is better than the other, they're just different kinds of play. The third one's going to be limits. Now this one's more for guns, but that can also dictate your gear, right? Because I am a firm believer that you get your guns first, then you get your gear. Because your gear should be built to kind of match the guns that you're using and the play style you're kind of rolling into. Because if I'm using a bolt action and a adequate sniper secondary, whatever you want to call it, I'm probably not going to be using a plate carrier with a bunch of M4 mag pouches, right? It just doesn't make sense to do that. I need to move quicker, I need to move longer distances, so I'm going to build slimline. And especially for someone like me, who's maybe not the most in-shape individual, maybe I want to streamline that even more. So your limits. If the limit is 350, I might not need a plate carry, even if I am rocking M4 mags, because that's more weight, that's more things like that. And 350 is pretty low FPS, so I'm not going to need that additional protection as much. So that's something to consider as well. Obviously, limits will dictate your guns that you're using. If the limit for your field is 350, then you can only use certain equipment. If the limit is 450, well, then you're going to need to use other equipment. Maybe longer range. Maybe you do want that plate carrier now and that helmet and things like that. So that's something to consider. Next thing is going to be your team. If you have one, if you're lucky enough to have one, a squad, team, whatever you want to call it, coordination with the rest of the team is going to be key. So on the speed saw side, if you're one of the guys hanging in the back nearer to the spawn, You might want something with a little more range, a little more accuracy, maybe a little more ammo, so you can shoot. You can cover the pistol users, the closer in guys, and you can cover them adequately, and you can lay down suppressing and supportive fire. Same thing with outdoor play, just on a bigger scale. Maybe your team needs a DMR. DMRs are fun. And, I love DMRs. That's what I generally build towards, even if I'm not going for the FPS limits. I generally build towards DMRs. But, maybe your team is a bunch of M4 users, but you have CQB fields, so you build out an SMG, right? You build out a more speedy kind of pistol, so you can work the CQB fields and you can fill that gap within your team. Likewise, you can do that same thing with equipment. Maybe if it's a milsim team, you have a need in your group that everyone's on squad comms, but you need one person to have comms back to HQ, right? Whatever that looks like at your event. So maybe you decide to take up that role. You rock in 2 radios, and that way one ear you can talk to HQ, one ear you can talk to your squad. Maybe that informs your thing. Maybe your loadout. Maybe if your squad needs a support weapon, right? A saw of some nature, right? And saw not being specific to the 249, but any support squad automatic weapon, right? So maybe your squad needs a support weapon. Maybe they have enough support weapons, DMRs, and other things like that, and what they need is a rifleman, a couple riflemen, or maybe a grenadier or something of that nature, right? So you kind of fill that gap, and what weapons you're using can inform your gear, but also there's other considerations. Maybe you need to carry more, maybe you need to have more pouches for ammo. Maybe you're the designated guy to carry the objective if you get one. Maybe if you're doing a lot more recce stuff, maybe you go out and buy a nice camera with something with some good zoom so you can take pictures, right? There's always going to be different roles, and you need to kind of fill those, and not all of them are going to be applicable to every game and every field and every situation. But if you look at your team and get coordinated with, okay, this person A is using an M4, person B is using an M4, person C is using a saw, person D is using a DMR, what should I use? Well, there's no grenadiers. I can pick that up if we have rules for that. Maybe there's no, maybe I should just pick up a rifleman, but I should carry more ammo in case the pig goes down, the saw goes down. Maybe I should build it to be longer range so I can better support the DMR. Because having contingency plans and having redundancy in a squad is super helpful. You shouldn't just have one saw, right? If you can get away with it. Obviously, there's field limits, especially when you go to the bigger milsims. But if you can get away with it, have 2 saws. Have as many as you can have, in all honesty. Because saws are phenomenal in Airsoft because accuracy by volume, right? But if you have 2 saws and your limit's 2 saws, or maybe you can't support that kind of weight, maybe you're not that in shape, I know I'm not, maybe you go build out a DMR, or if you can only have 1 DMR or 2 DMRs and those are already filled, maybe you build out an SPR, something with more range to keep up and fill that gap in case a DMR goes down. So, and then what your team specializes in is going to influence that as well. So if your team mostly does recce walks, right, you can build out your kit for that. Something lightweight with lots of hydration and pouches for food and stuff, right? Comms, we talked about that. If your team is mostly doing CQB, maybe you're building out for that and you're doing a plate carrier, helmet, the whole 9 yards with protective equipment, but you're building out your rifle to match that closer in kind of engagements, and you're building out your gear to support the rate of fire of your rifle, and you start to build out these things depending on what your team does specifically. Next thing is, and we've kind of hit on this, milsim versus casual versus speed soft, right? You're gonna have to build accordingly. I'm not saying you can't use your milsim loadout in speed soft, or you might not be able to use your speed soft loadout in milsim depending on the rules, but that's going to be rule set dependent. Or is it casual, right? Am I worried about the rules out of milsim or the rules for speed soft when I just go play on Fridays at my local field, right? So, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Whatever floats your goat, but build for the kind of events what you're doing. If you're going to mostly milsim-esque events, build for milsim. If you're going to mostly speed soft, build for speed soft, and there's nothing wrong with either one, right? We're all airsofters at the end of the day. But, and maybe figure out ways you can have contingency plans for, okay, I do speed soft, but I kind of want to go to this milsim. So you don't want to buy 2 sets of gear or vice versa, right? You can get, like, if you're going to mostly milsims and maybe you have some interest in speed soft, or your team does, you can get taco pouches. You can streamline, get like a JPC instead of the bigger plate carriers. You can streamline things, and you can build your kit maybe with CQB in mind. You can get taco pouches, which are really quick to reload. You can build HPA setups, you can do things like that, and you can kind of go back and forth. Same thing with the more competition orientated speed soft builds. Maybe get low profile stuff, right? Which you're probably going to do anyway, but think about concealment. So maybe if you're going to a milsim, you can play on the militia side or the civilian side, and you can think about concealment, and you can drape a flannel or a dress shirt or something like that over, and you can still have that kind of rig, and just played in a milsim-esque environment. I mean, at the end of the day, you can always throw on a fake like FBI or CIA jacket and call it a day, right? So there's, depending on the milsim you're going to, of course, but there's different ways to think about that. Next one is going to be budget. So if I'm planning out a full kit, and let's say it's a Navy SEAL kit, like 13 or a 13 hours kit, or a MARSOC kit, or whatever the case is, I have to take into budget considerations. Now, if I'm willing to piecemeal it all together over time, budget isn't as big of an issue, because even if you only have $20 a month to spend on airsoft, if you stretch it out over enough time, you can afford it. You can afford even the high-end gear eventually. But budget is a big concern for a lot of people. And so that's going to be, am I looking at getting knockoff or reproduction or real gear? So that's going to be a way to save money, but you're getting a lesser product, generally speaking. But I could also look at, what is the kit I'm running? Do I need to buy a belt if I'm just using 2 M4 pouches? Do I need to, or if I'm just running 3 M4 pouches, or whatever the case is, like a triple stack, something like that, whereas I could just go down and get a pair of cargo pants and throw my mags in there, right? A civilian kit or a militia kit is going to be cheaper than like a special forces kit. A general issue kind of kit, like a 10th Mountain or a Marine kit or something like that, those are going to be cheaper because they're surplus stores and stuff have a lot of that equipment used and fairly inexpensive. Those kits are going to be cheaper than your high-end, tier one DevGru or Delta kind of kits or whatever you want to call it. So you look at your budget, and that'll kind of inform what you want to do. Same thing with your Speedsoft or CQB kind of kits. Your budget is going to dictate what you want to do. Maybe you can stitch in pockets into pants and just run concealment kind of stuff. Maybe you're looking at something with elastic that maybe doesn't have a lot of retention, like a taco pouch does or something of that nature, but it's going to be cheaper and something more in your realm of possibilities, right? So budget is going to be a big criteria into that. And obviously some kits, especially on the milsim side, because SpeedQB is a little more free form, on the milsim side, some kits are just going to be prohibitively expensive, right? Your tier one kits are just going to be maybe out of your budget, especially if you're in high school or you're in college or something like that. Maybe you don't have a lot of money to burn on Airsoft, so that's going to be an issue. That brings us to our third point, which is imitation. Now, this doesn't have to be just, military or, whatever or private military contractors or whatever the case is. It could be based on a video game. It could be, based on Instagram or YouTube or whatever the case is. Imitation is going to be a big factor of that. The problem is, we'll get to that in a minute, is you're going to run into personal preference. But it can be a great place to start, because imitation means that this kit works, at least for that person, right? It might not work for you, and especially if your body type is different, or your budget is different, or your needs are different. Maybe they're a Speedsoft player, but you play mostly outdoors, or they play mostly outdoors and you're a Speedsofter. Imitation only gets you so far, but it's a great place to start. It at least means that it kind of works for those people. Next one, like we just hit on, is going to be personal preference. And here's where you kind of run into problems. Go to a store, go to whatever store you can, try out the gear first, because a Haley strategic rig might be fantastic for 90% of people, but you have the body type that it just doesn't work on. Or one thing that I did before I bought my knockoff Haley rig is I kind of mocked it up. I put 2 pistol mag pouches on a triple stack mag pouch with an admin pouch on the front, and then I put a H harness on that to make a chest rig, to make sure that it fit my needs, and it had enough space, and I was actually going to use that space. Turns out I only needed one of those pistol mag pouches, but since then I put a fake tourniquet in there, and it's fine. It does what I needed to do. I can use that extra space without really weighing me down. So the personal preference side is going to take all of the needs and the budget and the imitation and put them all together, and you're going to decide what works for you, what doesn't, and change gear and stuff like that. Then the last one is going to be style, because let's face it, most of Airsoft is a fashion show. So what you like is going to be different than what the next person likes most of the time. Or you might like a style that, like Blue Diamond Group, which is a Marine Impression group. You might like their style. That's great. Personally, I like Desert Tiger Stripes. I think they look cool. So I'm building out a kit for that, right? I just like the look of Tiger Stripes, except for the Air Force. That's a different story. But so I'm building out a kit around that, and I'm trying to make it work within my AO, right? So that's going to be kind of your style. Maybe you're wanting to build towards a Starship Troopers loadout from the movies, obviously, because that's a whole different ball game when you get into the books and stuff. But maybe you want to build out a Starship Troopers loadout, or maybe you want to build towards aliens like the Xenomorphs kind of loadout for the humans, obviously. But or maybe you want to do Delta, or maybe you want to do DevGru, or maybe you want to do 10th Mountain, or maybe you're a veteran and you have a bunch of camo and you want to build out towards your old unit. Whatever the case is, style is really going to be the determining factor. If you hate the way that black gear looks on your DCUs, then that, maybe a 90s Delta loadout isn't really going to work for you, like Black Hawk Down kind of thing. So that's really going to be the last thing. You have to look at it and say, am I happy, or am I going to be happy wearing this? And that's unfortunately not something that I can tell you, but look at reference pictures. Imagine yourself wearing that, and then get maybe a sample swatch, or a jacket or something of that camouflage, throw it out in your AO, take it around, just throw it on bushes or wherever, see if you like the look of it in that environment, something of that nature, right? So there's plenty of ideas you can do, or you can use to make your informed decision. And realistically, at the end of the day, it's up to you. Airsoft, like I said, is a fashion show. Yes, some mil sims require you to do certain loadouts or certain styles of camis or something like that, and some Speedsoft teams have their own look and all that. So you have to kind of work around those if you're into those kind of groups. But for the most part, just do what you're going to be happy with. And at the end of the day, this video, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you what you can and can't do. It's mostly to put that seed of thought in your brain. So until next time, stay safe and stay hydrated.